me, Meg. Hi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You were born in Papua New Guinea, that's right, but been here since you were very young?
Yeah, I moved here in around grade 6, and I did
Cool.
in Brisbane and lived around the world. Now I'm back.
Well, I was going to call you Calypso. I mean, that's a pretty huge thing being part of Bluey.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see that show just become more and more loved. I mean, I loved it from the first minute I saw it, and I guess everyone feels the same way.
Yeah, congratulations on that success. And this is going to be a big year. You've got a couple of movies that you've written, you're part of, and of course, the first one I want to talk about is How to Make Gravy. That's going to be a massive Christmas tradition, I believe. I can't believe it's taken this long to actually get made. Seeing the song from Paul Kelly's been around. How did it all come about? You collaborated with your husband, the director, but how did it come about that you were part of the writing process?
Well, it kind of began in Christmas of 2019.
Yeah,
We were at a mate's place, Nick and I, and we'd been listening to the song, and sort of we had, talked about how juicy it was, and how much it evokes. And then we were on our way home, and our friend sort of messaged us a text message and said, "You guys should make it into a movie." And we thought, "Hey, that's not a bad idea." So we contacted Bill, Paul's manager, and um, to see if it was possible. And in that conversation, he invited us to go and see Paul at the River stage where he was playing the next day, which just so happened to be the 21st of December.
yeah.
So then we were just sort of at the River stage with everybody else, and Paul was singing How to Make Gravy, and everybody was singing along and crying. And we just thought, wow, this is really special. We need to try and make this happen. But I mean, I've been sort of transitioning from songwriter to screenwriter for about 10 years, I guess, because I've sort of begun working on sort of narrative projects, and over time have just sort of crept my way more and more into the just the sort of plain screenwriting sort of, like,
Yeah.
which I've actually found a real I didn't expect to love it as much as I do, and I just absolutely love writing in other people's voices. Um it,
Okay.
yeah, it's really satisfying. So it's been sort of, something that I had been sort of like working towards, and obviously like Nick's a filmmaker and has made a lot of shorts and has had a whole, career before this. So it was just a kind of natural family project, because this project is a very even swirl of music and film, and so
Yeah.
very even swirl of Nick and I.
So it's I haven't actually seen the whole movie yet. I've only seen clips, and we won't want to spoil it too much anyway. But have you deviated from the song a lot, or did you just expand on the lyrics of the song?
We treated the song like Shakespeare.
Whoa, that's a big call.
Well, by that I mean that we just extracted, we tried to be as faithful to the song as possible, and to as little as we could.
Yep.
We we like to say that Paul's, song is kind of the stars that we sail by, like down
Yep.
on the film's planet. So, um, but we created a family tree out of the names that the song lists, and then we sort of put together a plot and a narrative structure that sort of incorporates all of the elements that are mentioned in every lyric of every line of that song.
Okay. Were you changing any of the lines or scenes on set, or what you wrote as a final draft went to screen?
Do you mean were we editing the script at the last minute?
Yeah, yeah. Were you changing it up at the last minute, as it was getting filmed, or just before filming commenced?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, we did a million you know, drafts and redrafts. But by the time we got down to our shooting script, things were
Yeah.
pretty much as evenly balanced as they could be. I mean, of course, there are always amazing things that happen on set that you would never plan for and have to incorporate, like as like we were quite lucky because the actors who play Roger and Stella, who in our film are a married couple, are actually friends in real life, Kate Mulvany and Damon Herriman. So they were paired together kind of through a series of events right at the last minute. And so they came up with some really, you know, their scenes are amazing because they're best mates in real life. So they just were having a ball.
Yeah, well, Damon Herriman's a mate, and I've interviewed Kate Mulvany before, so you can't get much better than those two. That's great that they could almost always help you out with the script almost.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoyed all of the actors that were
Yeah.
and yeah, it's always a dream to you know, to hear your words in the mouths of this incredible actors.
Well, that said, did you have any say or any suggestions with any of the casting? You and Nick or the casting director, did you maybe put in a few suggestions?
Well, one of the things that we knew about the movie is that we wanted it to feel, because we're inside of a song for the whole movie, we
Mm,
really feel like an Australian music culture fever dream. And so we wanted there to be a vein of musicians that run through the cast as well, in
yeah.
you know, in musical and in non-musical roles. So so it was really fun to be a part of, you know, to be part of the casting process. I think casting was possibly the most unexpected delight of the process because yeah, Nick and I worked with and our producer Skylar, we worked with Nikki Barrett, who's an amazing casting director, and
Yeah.
together we were able to you know, to pull together our dream cast, um and they were very funny.
Oh, well, that's really good to hear. I mean, as soon as you mention someone like Nikki Barrett is part of the casting process, like there you go. I mean, that legend, she's been around for quite some time doing it right.
Yeah, she certainly has.
Would you say writing a screenplay or any screenplay is therapeutic? Is that, like you said, you're speaking in other people's voices, but is it a therapeutic thing for you?
Well, yes, it was. Something that's true about me is that I grew up with a stutter, and something about having a stutter makes you painfully sensitive to the components of speech and how people talk and how other people talk and how others talk. And um, for me, the also, you know, something that I really enjoyed about songwriting is sort of coming to understand the invisible beats of what's going on inside of a song when it's happening. And so screenwriting is kind of this amazing swirl for me of, you know, the invisible beats of songwriting are the same as the invisible beats of screenwriting, but it's mixed in with dialogue, which I also happen to have had a reason to pay a lot of attention to over my lifetime. So
Yeah.
it has been therapeutic for me, but in that very specific niche way. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to mention the stutter and your health, but it's going okay. You're keeping it under control. I mean, it hasn't gotten any worse or anything over the years.
No, if anything, it's getting better.
Good.
I I think it's been a combination of things. Um, One has been, of course, just like getting rid of the fear about it, which is what happened when I did that TED talk. And obviously, I do a lot of voice acting work now, so I've kind of come to terms with that. But I think the best thing for my stutter lately has been the fact that I read to my son for an hour every night, and I just have had to read out loud, which was always my worst thing, you know. But I've just practiced it and practiced it and practiced it for nearly 7 years now. So I feel like that's been a really big part of my speech, like, maintenance program, is reading to my son.
Well, I wasn't going to mention it, but you brought it up. Your TED Talk, the Opera House, maybe 9 or 10 years ago, I was in the audience. So yeah, as I said, I've been watching your career for a while now, and yeah, it's amazing that that seems so long ago now, but you really have shined a light on people stuttering and your own journey. It's good.
People stutter, like, it's weird because it's such an awkward problem to have, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really that bad, but it's also like when when it's when it's bad, you know, you feel trapped inside it, and
Mm.
like every word you say lasts for 1,000 years, and you feel like the silence of when you're trying to get the word out is just endless. And I don't know, I feel like for me, what was so great about that TED Talk was just getting it in front of me, or getting in front of it, or whichever way it was.
Yeah, well, I mean,
What
obviously, this is the first time we've talked one-on-one, and I almost thought we'd be like singing to each other or saying words all strung together.
Oh,
I'm
well,
only
I
joking.
I sort of both of those things.
Fair enough. Did Paul Kelly come in and collaborate with, you or your husband, Nick, or anyone on the process of the movie? Like, did he have to sign off on things before it was finalized?
Yeah, we had to option the song from Paul right at the beginning and get his permission to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, so to do that, we sent him uh, a little sort of dossier kind of thing describing the world, the Kellyverse that we were planning to construct, and that had the shape of the family tree of the names inside the song and a little bit about what was, you know, going on. And based on that, he sort of signed off on us sort of, you know, trekking off up the mountain. He saw the song very much, and as did we, you know, as a jumping off point for us to do our own thing.
Mm.
The thing we chose to do was to mine the song and sort of, you know, really enshrine it without a lot of embellishment. And so, but you know, he's, of course, like, he's seen it now and he digs it. So
Well, that's a bonus. If he digs it, you're good. You're good to go. Okay, so I've got to say that you've got a song in it called the Hook as part of the soundtrack. That's a tweak. You tweaked another song, is that right? Is it Sunset Lover? It was an instrumental, or you've sort of reworked something there to be on the soundtrack, your song?
yeah, I basically top lined that song, Sunset Lover. It's a song that I just kept hearing and it was driving me nuts. So I hit. And then it sort of joined the swirl of songs that eddy around this apartment all day long. And when we were putting the movie together, it very naturally fit into one spot in the movie. And it was a great connection because our lead actress in the film is actually French. Rita is from France. And so it felt really right to have a French
Yeah.
connection in, you know, Petite Biscuit too.
See, not just Australian. We have like international flavors in this movie. It's great.
Yeah, the gravy has many.
True, true. What about your acting career? Do you have a role in the movie? I know you've dabbled in a little bit of acting, other than Bluey, of course. But are you in How to Make Gravy?
Yeah, I have a small cameo.
The cameo. Can you reveal what it is?
You'll have to see the film, Shane.
All right. Well, what about more acting? Are you looking at maybe doing some more acting down the track?
Oh yeah, for sure. I really enjoy it.
Okay. What about gigs? When you get on stage and you're doing a show, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you're just giving everything yourself to the audience, or do you just have an out of body experience and go through the songs? Like, how does it work for you when you're on stage?
Well, for me, being on stage, it's not really the being on stage part, it's the singing part that really does it for me.
Okay.
I find singing to be this intersection of the physical and the spiritual for me. And I have always had a very close connection with the spiritual side of music.
Okay.
And so, and over time, I think because I have, as I said, been able to be sort of quite busy in other kind of areas like musically and doing sort of craft work of music, like writing a song in a musical, like here's a farmer and the and the crops are dry, which is actually a song that I wrote, and it's a song about a farmer in rural Australia, and the crops are dry, and his daughter wants to go to a debutante ball. Like,
Yeah.
writing that song has sort of enabled my own practice of songwriting and songcraft to be something that's more like an abstract sort of space for me to inhabit and embody sound rather than sort of writing a song that I want. So, I mean, what I'm turning out, I'm calling disco Enya, if that gives you a sense of what I'm talking about.
I love Enya. I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. So I'm just trying to, yeah, I mean, I guess that's how I would describe kind of where I'm coming from, like musically at the moment. So singing on stage is like a time to do that with other people. And if you're lucky and if you write the right thing, they sing back, which is even better. And
Yeah.
that exchange is so it's
Yeah.
very, but I don't think we have a place for a lot of collective musicking together as a society anymore because nobody goes to church anymore.
No, that's true. And you can't see it, but my vinyl collection is just to my right. And Enya, the album with Orinoco Flow on it, is right there on vinyl.
Yeah, that's the shit.
Music and lyrics are pretty important in your songs. Like, just they've pretty much been a staple of listening intently whenever I'm listening to your music. But what comes first for you? Do you write the tune first or the lyrics first, or is it a combination?
Just it really changes song by song. Sometimes it's the music, like Sunset Lover, and then the lyrics come next,
Yeah.
or sometimes it's a lyric that will then spark me to go to the piano and figure out what it sounds like. And sometimes I'll just be playing the piano and a melody will come into my head, and then it's just about finding what wants to belong to that melody. It really
Yeah.
changes it. Um, Also, like writing with other people, sometimes they have a germ of a melody that you want to vibe on, or sometimes they've got a lyric or something. I find creativity to be like, or like all composition is just a process of like figuring out what exists and
Mm.
what, so then what do I have to be to do whatever's missing. That's what it usually feels like.
Okay. And I mean, you've mastered the piano. What other instruments? I'm unaware. Can you play other instruments, or is it just the piano?
I wouldn't say that I've mastered the piano. I'd say that I can I can
Yeah.
paddle a canoe, but I'm not like,
Well, I'm going to say that you're up there. You're up there as a pretty high voltage piano player in my world.
thank you. No, I play a bit of guitar, but I mean I learned how to use Logic a couple of years ago, which was like a whole new instrument. I'm always learning things. I taught myself frame by frame hand animation during COVID and made a few music videos that I hand animated, which was really fun.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, I love learning. I, I love learning new,
okay.
figuring out new ways to make stuff. It's cool.
I mean, hand animation, that's an art in itself. It's not that common. So for you to do
Having
that and
done it, I can see why it's such an unpopular art form.
maybe talking about movies, could you maybe make an animated movie or a short film
I'd love,
potentially?
I'd love to do that.
Cool. Instrumentals, are they underrated? I love a good instrumental, but you don't really hear a lot of them other than maybe classical music stations or a concert. But yeah, there used to be a day where there was a lot of instrumentals that get played on the radio. Not so much now. Do you like them?
I reckon there's heaps of bands like Kurangbin is an instrumental band, and King Gizzard is an instrumental band, and
Okay.
like Hermanos Guitarras brothers I reckon there's loads of music around. You just need to get on that algorithm, babe.
I'm not listening to the wrong radio stations, obviously. But before we wrap up, so what movies have you liked over the years? Like you've written some songs and you've written a screenplay for this great new movie that's coming out soon, How to Make Gravy, but your own personal journey, did you watch movies as a kid growing up, or now do you go to the cinema?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I just watched like mostly MGM movie musicals and Disney movie musicals. So I grew up listening to mostly Richard Rodgers, either with Hart or Hammerstein, um I've just sort of, grew up absolutely loving all of those show tunes, which I then, when I was in my early 20s and late teens, I was a jazz singer and I sang all of that music for many years. So,
Mm,
I've always had music and film kind of swirled together in my life.
okay.
And yeah, it's, the musical, I mean, How to Make Gravy, it's not a musical, but it is
No.
not a musical. Like there's a lot of singing on screen. So
Okay.
so yeah, there's kind of, I definitely think that my that's the magnetic pole that I'm tuned to is music theater for sure.
Are you ready for it to explode? Are you ready to walk the red carpet and just make, it's Christmas is coming in Australia. It's one of the countries in the world where we're in the middle of summer, it's hot, it's different to anywhere else. And your movie is about to hit. Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the movie is concerned, like my homework is done, so now everything else is just gravy.
And Disco Enya, you had me at hello there.
Watch this space.
And I know we said it off air just before we started, but I've got to comment your hair. I've always seen it short. I think you rock that short haircut. It's the longest I've ever seen it. It's pretty wild. It's not what I was expecting to see you as today.
Oh, really? Well, I'm trying this new thing, which is doing absolutely nothing, and I'm really enjoying it.
And The Deb, can you just give me a little rundown on The Deb and what to look forward to there? Because that's another movie that you've written and it's got a great cast and you worked with Rebel Wilson on that. Anything you can reveal on that?
Well, the Deb premiered at Toronto
Mm,
months ago, I think, and
yeah.
yeah, it'll be we're gonna see what happens next.
Yet to be released in Australia, but I'm looking forward to it when it is.
Thank you.
Well, I hope we cross paths at some point in the near future. Thank you so much for your time, Meg Washington. Bit of a highlight of my day chatting to you. So thank you and good luck with all your screenwriting endeavors. I mean, I don't have to wish you luck with music because that's already just great. But screenwriting endeavors, I hope there's a lot more to come.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.